Guys, look, it's London! So yes, I've arrived. I am in London, England, and I am studying abroad, and it's very exciting and cold. I've already seen and done so much here, and I went to Bath the other day, which is, I think, my new favorite city, and I saw Stonehenge, and it was pouring rain and freezing, but, you know, it was a good time, and I had a few problems with immigration right when I got here, which we patched up. If you follow us on Twitter, you'll maybe know that I was supposed to go to Paris just so I could come back and have my visa endorsed, but that didn't happen. So, way to go, UK Border Agency. I appreciate all the help you have ever given me, ever. And with that said, I want to A, apologize for this ridiculous background, and B, talk to you about The Marriage Plot by Jeffrey Eugenides, which I don't have with me because I left it at home because I actually read about before the new year, and because my last day in the States was actually January 1st. But since we don't have an airport in our state that flies out of the country other than to Canada, I had to drive to Boston to get on a plane to actually fly to England. So I left my book at home, and I didn't really bring very many with me. But The Marriage Plot I finished right before, and it blew my mind. This is my first Jeffrey Eugenides book. I wanted to read Middlesex for the longest time and just haven't gotten around to doing it or picking it up. But this book is dense, and the font is small in the edition I was reading, and it was just packed so thoroughly with everything you could want out of a book. The plot is set in the 1980s at Brown University, and there are about three main characters. You've got Madeline, you've got Leonard, and you've got Mitchell. And Mitchell and Madeline are friends from their first year at Brown, and Madeline meets Leonard in her last year. And soon there ensues this interesting love triangle as the three of them try and cope with becoming postgraduates and graduating and the recession in the 80s, and starting their lives from what they have never known before, because all they've been doing is going to school and living with their parents. Three of them are all reading these books by authors that I've never heard of, these vast, massive tomes of literature and on philosophy and religion and psychology and literature that is so incredibly dense, and that is an integral part of the story, because as they understand what they're learning, they sort of come to understand about themselves, and the psychology behind the relationship that the three of them share and the relationships from that triangle is completely reflected in what they're reading. This book is thick and littered and packed together, and it's technically fiction and not romance, but there is some romance in there. But it's like no other romance that you've ever read. It's never dry. And one thing that I particularly enjoyed about Jeffrey Eugenides' writing style is that he never really leaves anything up to you. You never read a passage and think to yourself, I can't really envision what he's talking about. He's got great attention to detail and gives you these incredibly well-developed but appropriately flawed characters that just ooze literary reference all over the place. I now read with a dictionary and or encyclopedia, aka my computer, next to me, because often I come across things such as I did in this novel, where they will reference great literary works or things from the past or old Greek terminology, and I just won't have any idea what it is. Throughout the plot, you see the characters graduate and take off for the lives that they're going to have next, whether it's a research internship or, you know, to be a budding author, or to just, as Mitchell does, travel the world. And he is very interested in religion. I believe he's a religious studies major or something of the sort, and he goes off on this wild adventure to sort of find himself, as the other two do, but in less of a dramatic fashion. What I loved about this plot line was the fact that they were all doing the exact same thing in different ways. They all started from the same base as university students who were studying something that they loved and realized that they were in perhaps a little bit over their heads and came to terms with it and then found their way through it. Another thing I enjoyed about Eugenides's writing in this was that he chose to write it from multiple points of view. So sometimes if you were reading something maybe from Madeline's point of view and then didn't really get what she was saying, or you wondered to yourself, oh, I wonder how the other characters might have seen that, you will often get the same passage or a summary of the same accounts from another character's point of view. The small things that you are wondering about completely make sense. There is at no point in this book where Geoffrey Eugenides lets you get very, very lost from his plot. He sometimes will leave you wondering what really happened, which goes back to one of my favorite quotations from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's the truth, even if it didn't happen. But sometimes one character will say something and the other character will echo it in a similar fashion, but they'll give you slightly different accounts, and you wonder what really happened and which one of them there is to believe. Also, this book is not written in chapter form. It is written in about 4 sections, each which kind of details an important feature from that period of their lives. There are a couple time jumps. I think that if it had been done in chapters, it wouldn't have read as well. The pacing would have seemed off, it would have seemed choppy, and it would not have been the incredibly intense story that it was. That is the word I want to use for this book, intense. Intense, thick, littered with, heft. It is littered with heft. And I will say that if the film rights ever get picked up for this book, I will not be seeing it, because there is so much interior monologue that you cannot do justice to on film that is present in this novel. As much as I would love to see it played out, I don't think that it's feasible. In the end, I give Geoffrey Eugenides' The Marriage Plot 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and it wowed me and shocked me and surprised me and made me rethink what I'm learning at school, but I don't know. That 5th star, I don't really feel justified in giving it a 5th star for some reason, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So 4 stars to The Marriage Plot. Great novel. In other news, Bex updated you on her Goodreads challenge reflection and goals. Last year, I believe I set out to read 40 books, which is 10 less than her, and due to some unforeseen circumstances in the semester in which I was basically not sleeping and only ever working on choreography or work, I think I managed to read 21, 23 perhaps books. So maybe just halfway, a little over halfway. And this year I've decided, since I am abroad and I do expect to have a little bit more time to read, surprisingly, but I also want to, get out and do things and roam England and roam Europe and go visit other things like visit Recca. I have set my goal for this year at 20, which I think I will accomplish. I actually hope to overshoot that, because if 20 is what I read last year and this year I anticipate to have more time, who says that I can't make that? In the building where I'm living, that students have just left books from previous years in hallways, in the common room, in all kinds of places. So I've picked up Sarah's Key for free in order to read that one, and I'm slowly searching out other things that are going to be worth my time to look over when I'm not in class. So that's that. That's The Marriage Plot. That's what I intend to do in 2013 with my Goodreads reading goal. I hope you're all having lovely weeks and lovely lives. It's finally sunny here for the first time in a while, instead of overcast and gray, so I'm going to go get outside, and I will see you very soon. Thanks for watching this video. Cheers!